On the way to Cadbury World, Birmingham. Welcome break. Coffee time.
Exit the roundabout onto Hollywood Bypass. Continue on Hollywood Bypass for 2 miles.
On the way to Cadbury World.
In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, continue straight to stay on Bell's Lane. In 300 yards, turn right. Turn right, then you will arrive at your destination. You have arrived.
Cadbury World Car Park.
Mấy thật mà ăn ra cái biết lịch sử. Và phần này. Bây giờ, không see.
Arrived. Cadbury World.
As you head down, just let Chloe know what time you've got. All right. When you're ready, join the queue, then you'll come through.
Mommy, I want
Where's
to
the
go
bathroom?
to the playground.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Hiya. Hiya. Is that all right? Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. No.
Hello, good afternoon.
Let's come here.
What?
I love you, coin.
Oh. What?
What's that? You? Say that again, say that again. Yeah.
After killing the Aztec Emperor Moctezuma, defeating the Aztec people, I returned to Spain in 1528. I loaded my galleons with cocoa beans and chocolate drink-making equipment, as I was convinced that this drink would delight my contemporaries in Spain. However, the voyage was not without risk, as English and Dutch pirates were constantly attacking and capturing treasure ships. I found a treasure. Get rid of it.
Free, is it true or
And apothecaries such as Fry and grocers such as Cadbury began to experiment with chocolate manufacture. Let's take a longer now to see how my story began.
Possibly Victorian. I'll do a lot of research into the Maya and the Aztecs. I'll know quite a lot about that. Spanish landed on the coast of the Yucatan of Mexico. So yeah, I enjoy that period as well.
My name is John Cadbury, and this is my shop, where I first established my business in 1824. My father had a type of Cadbury. owns and runs the trade. Our family are staunch Quakers, and we originally came from the West Country. Father moved the family to Birmingham, our home in Exeter, in 1794, and set up his business as a linen draper and celebrant. Birmingham was a fine place to live, with plenty of business opportunities. We soon made many friends, and my father became a prominent member of the local Quakers. Because of our religious status, Quakers were considered to be non-conformist. This prevented us from studying at university, and as a result, we were unable to enter professions such as medicine and law. Also, because Quakers are pacifists, we couldn't join the army or navy. And so trade and commerce were the only areas where Quakers could focus their ambitions and prosper. I was apprenticed as a tea merchant in Leeds, and then worked in a bonded tea house in London. When I returned to Birmingham in 1824, I borrowed some money from my father to go into business as a tea dealer and coffee roaster. I took over this shop and installed this large plate glass.
And there we are.
Just the way outside, if that's alright. Just the next one. Next one. Thank you.
I want to follow.
If you'd like to just sit on this backboard with you. Thank you.
Business in 1824 to trade tea and coffee. I also sold cocoa nibs I prepared myself, chocolate and coffee beans. These drinks were considered as wholesome alternatives to alcohol, which we as Quakers strongly disapproved. In my spare time, I experimented with preparations of cocoa beans and chocolate, which I could sell in the shop. Soon I had to rent a warehouse in nearby Crooked Lane, where I could manufacture these products on a larger scale. At first, it was very difficult, because I had to pay high taxes on the cocoa beans. And then, on top of all that, I had to move out of Crooked Lane and into another factory, here in Bridge Street. That's when my brother Benjamin joined me, and together we formed Cadbury Brothers. With more space, we could now prepare a cocoa powder and an eating chocolate that could be packed and sold. Soon after, my eldest son, Richard, joined the company. Having Richard with us made all the difference. He saw to it that the quality of our cocoa improved, introduced new products, and even opened a shop in London. Our efforts were rewarded when we received our first royal warrant from Queen Victoria. That was when my younger son, George, joined us.
George introduced many benefits for the workforce, such as half-day holidays, a sick club, and many improvements in the factory.
And Richard, your new designs for our packaging were a huge success.
Well, we had to try something different, just to get ourselves recognized, Father, as we were still a small company. Our aim was to manufacture only the highest quality cocoa and chocolate.
I know, and I could tell you some stories of less scrupulous producers who added brick dust to that cocoa.
Ours was still gritty, but we only added sugar to take away the bitter taste and starch to absorb the fat. However, George had heard of a new kind of cocoa press. He went to Holland in 1866, saw the press being used and brought one back.
The Van Houten press.
Oh yes, Father. You see, because we could extract more of the cocoa butter, there was no need for more additives. Not only was our cocoa essence more palatable, but also output increased.
The Bridge Street factory was now too small to cope, and we had to expand somewhere else.
For some time, George and I had shared the same vision to build our new factory in a garden setting, away from the smoke and grime of the city. We called our new factory Bourneville. We opened our new factory in 1879, and were faced with many more challenges as the size of our workforce increased. As the company prospered, we introduced bonuses, such as payment for output and punctuality, a 5.5-day week, pension schemes, works committees, training, and many other benefits.
I sent my son George to Switzerland to find out how chocolate was made, using fresh milk.
Soon after, Cadbury were able to manufacture chocolate with a much higher milk content, that rivaled even the best Swiss products.
That was when we launched our most important new brand. We called it Cadbury's Dairy Milk. It became so popular with its distinctive taste that sales exceeded all our best expectations. And within a short while, it had become our best-selling chocolate. In 1919, we merged with Fry, and the company went from strength to strength.
And so we have seen that big things have their roots in the smallest beginnings.
Hi everyone, if you'd like to remain.
Story starts over there, where you can see a farmer and his team planting our young cocoa trees. Hello there! Once each pod has been plucked, it is cut open, so that all of the beans and sticky pulp can be scooped out to be fermented in a heap and then dried in the hot sun until they've turned a rich brown colour. Once the beans are dried, they are tested for their quality before being loaded onto a cargo ship to be transported to England. They are then taken to our factory in Chirk for processing. Now, first the beans must be sorted and physically cleaned to remove any stones, dust and string that have come across with the beans from Africa. This is done using a stream of air and by passing the beans over vibrating cinders. The raw cocoa beans are now pasteurized using very hot steam. Clean cocoa beans are now taken to be roasted in revolving tubular gas-fired ovens. The beans are then cooled and are ready to have their shells removed through a process called winnowing. This is done by passing the brittle beans over a series of vibrating trays and hitting them with breaker arms. The shell is then blown away and the remaining pieces of bean are called nibs. The nibs are now ground up in large mills. This process generates heat, which helps to transform the nibs into a thick chocolate-coloured liquid called cocoa liquor or mass. Some cocoa liquor is taken to our factory at Marlborough for further processing, and the rest of the liquor is pressed to extract the cocoa butter. The refined cocoa butter is now taken to Bourneville, where we will catch up with it later. Meanwhile, the cocoa liquor that has been taken to Marlborough is pumped into storage tanks, ready to be turned into chocolate crumb. Over 150 tons of sugar and 500,000 litres of fresh full cream milk are delivered to Marlborough every day to be used in this process. But first, the milk must be pasteurised and then evaporated to remove most of the water before sugar can be added to produce a sweetened condensed milk. The liquid milk and sugar solution is now heated again before the cocoa liquor from Chirk is added and thoroughly mixed to create a thick paste. The paste is then squeezed between steam-heated rollers under a huge vacuum, causing the paste to turn into a powder. The resulting crumb is scraped from the rollers, dried in a flow of hot air, and blown into storage silos. The crumb is now taken to Bourneville in tankers, where it is ground and mixed into a paste with this, the cocoa butter, which came from Chirk earlier. The paste is then refined into a flake before being conched or mixed to form a liquid chocolate. This liquid chocolate is used to make all our famous milk chocolate products.
Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that. It's going to make you angry.
This is called the way and 35 million Easter eggs are formed. The end sections are then folded to produce the seal. Oil-covered eggs are then bound to the
Now this process is really important because it reforms the cocoa butter crystals in the chocolate mixture and makes the chocolate really nice and shiny. If we didn't do this, our chocolate would be really dry and brittle and it wouldn't have that lovely snap when we bite into it. Now, as you can notice, we use marble tables. The reason we use marble is because marble conducts heat, so it cools the chocolate down. Now, as today is a pretty warm day, I'm going to repeat this process up to 3 times. Because I don't want to have any hot spots in my chocolate. Hello. So today I'm just demonstrating how chocolates were made 100 years ago. And all I've done so far is I've started to temper my chocolate and just cool it down. So 100 years ago, the women would do this for 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. And they were only paid per perfect chocolate and not per hour. Now, 100 years ago, they would have thermometers, but these were very expensive. So how they would test to see if the chocolate was cool is they would just get their finger and dip it in the chocolate to test for any hot spots. Some women would also just test it on their wrist, and if it felt cool to the touch, they'd move on to the next stage. Now, today we use these polycarbonate molds. 100 years ago we would use metal molds. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer my chocolate into the mold. Now as you can see, the chocolate's already starting to look really nice and shiny and thick. But even though it looks really good, we have a slight problem with this chocolate. And that problem is air. So as I mentioned, when I was tempering my chocolate, I added a lot of air into the mixture. Now if I left it like this, the chocolate would still taste delicious, but it would have a little air bubbles and holes in it. So to remove those, we're just going to give it a little shake. As you can see, all the air bubbles have risen to the surface of the mold. Now, if you're making solid chocolate like your dairy milk or fried dough, this would be the end of the demonstration. But if you wanted to make a chocolate with a soft center, such as your fudge or caramel, you do a process called shelling. Now, all shelling is, I'm going to get my mold, turn it around, give it a tap, and a shake. And what we get is what we like to call here a Cadbury World chocolate brain. So I'm just going to keep repeating this until all that excess chocolate has been removed from the center. And then as you see, what we're left with is a really nice hollow center to add any of our fillings. As you can see, we now have a really nice hollow center, and we can add our fillings into these. I'm going to let this set on the side and show you what I made a bit earlier. Now, this one's starting to set, but at this point what we would do is we'd use our imagination because we don't use real fillings here since our chocolate is recycled. But what the women would do is they'd get a piping bag and they'd add their strawberry cream, their fudge, their caramel into all of these little fillings. And then what they would do is they'd set it using the same chocolate from earlier. Now, the reason they would reuse the same chocolate and not use new chocolate is because chocolate was very expensive 100 years ago. So only the very wealthy could afford it. And so it wouldn't make sense to waste any of this chocolate. Now once again, I'm just going to spread it evenly, and I'm going to remove any of the excess. Now with chocolate, you usually have to work pretty fast because chocolate sets really quickly. So if you can imagine 100 years ago, we wouldn't have refrigeration, and on a very hot day like this, you wouldn't be able to make any chocolate because the chocolate wouldn't be able to set. But once we reach this stage, I'm just going to add this to the fridge and show you what I made a bit earlier. Hopefully this one should be set by now. I'm going to give it a tap. And as you can see, all the chocolates would come right out. Now this is how we make chocolate 100 years ago here at Cadbury World. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask or come forward for a closer look. You can also go on to write in chocolate over there. Thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of your day here at Cadbury World.
About writing your names in chocolate, so whenever you're ready, let's go ahead and use the bottom side of the text. And just yeah, you just go for it. We've got the whole table.
way round. Don't forget to smile.
Welcome to Cadbury. If you look carefully at the pages ahead of you, they will help you enjoy the Cadbury magic.
Oreo
Yeah.
and the white one. What would you like?
Boiler.
What would you like?
Venti.
You can choose the toppings.
What do you like?
Hello, paparazzi. Just relax. I'm cooking the world. You have these caramel.
The world's biggest Cadbury shop.
Thank you. I'm not sure.
Okay, off.
Wow, it's nice.